stand behind even if they're not. Any concerned parents are welcome to stand back here while we're speaking. It would be better if you were more right here, just behind the podium. Perfect. Those steps are actually really helpful. As long as you're not blocking those. All right, we're going to begin in just 30 seconds. I'll, kick it off. If you're just looking to get ready, Assalamualaikum to our audience. All right, we're going to begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning. My name is Robert McCaw. I'm the National Government Affairs Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations. Our civil rights and advocacy organization is happy to make our office available to the concerned parents, faculty, students, and alumni of the George Washington University and surrounding universities who are deeply concerned about the way GW's current leadership have ignored, defamed, and now endangered students peacefully protesting the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is their event, so I'm going to turn the microphone over to Hala Amr, the mother of a current student at GW, and speaking on behalf of the concerned parents who have sent a letter demanding better from GW administrators. Following the speakers, we will have an open Q&A. With that, Ms. Hala.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Hala Amr. I'm a mother of a current student at GW. On behalf of a large, growing number of concerned GW parents, we stand in full solidarity with our children and the students who have risked their education, careers, and safety in order to peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights, oppose the Israeli government's ongoing genocidal war crimes in Gaza, and call on their university to divest from human rights abuses against the Palestinian people. Additionally, on behalf of all GW parents who have signed our letter to the Board of Trustees that was sent this morning, we fully endorse all the demands of the students who were demonstrating at the U-Yard encampment. When our children considered which university to attend, we encouraged them to choose GW as their second home to get the best education possible and to be treated with the highest degree of respect. The GW administration strongly highlighted its support for diversity, free speech, and activism, but the administration's disgraceful response to this peaceful anti-genocide protest shows that those words were mere lip service. Actions speak louder than words, and the university has revealed its true values. President Granberg has refused for weeks to meet with her own students who extended their hand to her in good faith for negotiations and positive discourse. The adult in the room was our children, and Granberg let our children down. The university this morning showed that they would rather unleash brutal police force upon our children than treat them with respect and negotiate with them in good faith. The university clearly does not value the students at all and has endangered the safety of our children by unleashing officers dressed in full riot gear to assault and spray our children in their eyes with pepper spray. The university had demonstrated their loyalty to corporations and the Israeli government over our American children and over education. For this reason, the parents have lost all trust in the university and its leadership. We truly are shocked that it's too difficult for the university to be financially transparent and disclose their investment to the point where they would rather suspend and smear the students and use violence to disperse peaceful student protesters in order to protect this information. We believe the only reason for this strange behavior would be to hide something they do not want the American public to see. The parents are furious that the millions of dollars we pay in tuition and housing every year are complicit in war crimes against our will. On top of that, the university does not think that's enough, and they believe our children should be thrown in prison for objecting to this horror. We know that our children and the diverse gathering of peaceful students at this protest have posed no threat to anyone, and their actions have caused no violence. Contrary to the false claims of President Granberg, the only instances of physical conflict reported at the scene have occurred due to the police, outside agitators, and ironically, Provost Christopher Allen Bracey himself, who has been caught on video apparently assaulting a peaceful protester. The students today have peacefully assembled, just as the George Washington protesters against the apartheid in South Africa and the Vietnam and Iraq wars did. And it's time for the administration to respect the rights. The current leadership has failed to do so and have lost all chances to make up for it after the horrific events that took place this morning. We find it hard to understand why this administration has not learned from the numerous lessons of its own history, as well as our nation's history. George Washington, which was one of the few universities to divest from the apartheid South African, now takes credit for the anti-apartheid divestment protests that happened on its campus. George Washington cannot protect free speech only when it's convenient. It's not enough to pay lip service to those inflection points in our nation's history and claim to support political freedom. It's time to apply those lessons. The parents will no longer be silent and tolerate the gross mistreatment of our children by the university leadership. University leadership has lost all chances to make up for their previous mistakes. Therefore, the parents demand that the university secure the resignations of President Granberg and Provost Christopher Allen Bracey. This needs to be done immediately. And the parents will no longer sit on the sidelines as we watch our children be subjected to this horrific brutality, all ordered by the university leadership. The university's insistence on ignoring the student negotiators by citing university policy reveals administration's shocking inability to see the bigger picture. History shows us ignoring the voice of the masses will only fuel them more. The rest of the world and the community sees and hears the students, and it's time for the administration to do so. Thank you very much. And I would love to introduce Professor Zoltan Klok from the American University.
Ma'am, before you leave, can you spell your first and last name for us, please?
Hala is H-A-L-A, Amer is A-M-E-R. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Zoltan Gluck. I'm a professor at American University. My name is spelled Z-O-L-T-A-N, last name Gluck, G-L-U-C-K. I'm here today representing the faculty and staff for Justice in Palestine at American University, as well as a broader DC, Maryland, Virginia-wide consortium of faculty members standing up for academic freedom and justice in Palestine. We, the faculty and staff for Justice in Palestine at American University, condemn Israel's invasion of Rafah and call for an immediate ceasefire. In doing so, we also boost student demands to keep our eyes on Gaza and on Rafah at this moment. I don't think it's a coincidence that these types of actions are happening at this moment when people in Gaza are looking to students across this country and saying, "You are our hope." At this moment, when university administrations and political class are seeking to crush that hope. So we'll start with Rafah. For the past 6 months, we've witnessed the Israeli state decimate entire cities, hospitals, historic mosques, churches, and universities, and push hundreds of thousands, in fact, well over 1 million people to seek refuge in Rafah. Israel's attack on Rafah eliminates any safe passage for Palestinians and places at least 1.4 million people at imminent risk of death by bombs, gunfire, and starvation. The Biden administration has warned against the incursion into Rafah, calling such an action a red line. And this should be a moment when the US government uses its leverage to end this massacre. But unfortunately, there is little hope from our political leaders to do the right thing. Our hope comes from these brave and righteous students, these inspiring students who are standing on the right side of history. These powerful students, who the people of Gaza have called their only hope. These students who across the country have courageously stood up to the spineless university administrators, to opportunist politicians. These students who have stood strong and steadfast, non-violently holding their ground, often in the face of violent mobs such as those we saw at UCLA, and violent police departments who are attacking them for demanding a ceasefire, for demanding justice in Palestine, for demanding an end to this entirely preventable genocide. This is what the George Washington University's cowardly president, Ellen Granberg, represents. Ellen Granberg would rather callously see her students brutalized and arrested rather than talk with them about their concerns. Would rather callously see her students brutalized and arrested rather than simply provide financial transparency about her university's investments. Would rather see her students brutalized and arrested than divest from weapons manufacturers? My God, this is what the world has come to. What is clear is that Ellen Granberg does not represent her students, her faculty, or indeed the mission of the university. What is clear from her actions and the actions of university administrators at campuses across the country, from Columbia to UCLA, and indeed to American University, is that the Ellen Granbergs of this world represent only the interests of donors and investment portfolios. The Ellen Granbergs of this world represent the interests of the military-industrial complex over the rights of their own students. The Ellen Granbergs of this world represent and support this genocide and are willing to trample the rights of their students in the name of allowing this genocide to continue. And while every single institution of higher education has been destroyed in Gaza, all 12 universities Not to mention the over 380 schools that have been destroyed. Education is ground to a halt. What of the right to education for these kids, these children in Gaza? My God. This is scholasticide. This is cultural genocide. And this is what our so-called leaders accept, from Ellen Granberg to Joe Biden. Here we stand in Washington, D.C., and I'm a faculty member at American University in Northwest D.C., where there are about 12,000 children, according to the last census in Ward 3. I think about the dozens of elementary schools, the middle schools and high schools, where I dropped off my preschool-aged children this morning. Those 12,000 children. Well, more than 12,000 children have been killed in Gaza in the past 12 months. That is every single child in Northwest D.C. Wrap your heads around this. But in truth, we don't know how many kids have been killed, because the institutions that record official deaths, from the hospitals to the civil registry, have been purposefully destroyed by Israel. We, the faculty and staff for justice in Palestine at American University and across the DMV, condemn the invasion of Gaza. We condemn the invasion of Rafah. We condemn all of the governments that are aiding and abetting this ongoing and horrific genocide, particularly the government of the United States, whose weapons, military aid, and political cover are allowing Israel to perpetuate this genocide, this massacre. We support and applaud all those who are protesting this genocide, and we support especially our students. We stand with our students, those who resist the corporate media as it tries to cover up this genocide by accusing these students of being hateful. Together we stand with the people of Gaza and the residents of Rafah who face this brutal occupation and invasion. Our struggles are interconnected. Our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly, and our basic rights to dignity are all under threat because of our advocacy for Palestinian freedom. We support the basic demands of our students. We support the parents demanding the resignation of Provost Bracey and President Granberg. We support the calls for free Palestine, for disclosure, divestment, boycott, and sanctions. Thank you very much.
Speaking next is Dr. Amara Martor, who is a faculty from GW. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amar Madkour. Yes, it's AMR MADKOUR. So, I wanted to come here today because I myself, I have family in Gaza. Sure. I have family in Gaza, and I have, like many others, been completely disturbed by what has been unfolding first and foremost in Gaza and the completely manufactured genocide there, which has from the very start been about a collective punishment of the people of Gaza, regardless of their age, regardless of their gender. We're seeing women, children, innocent men all being starved collectively. They've been targeted indiscriminately, and we have witnessed a failure on the part of our political leadership, on the part of our governments and worldwide governments. There has been no response until now. We're still not seeing adequate aid getting through, and our glimmer of hope, for me, it has been witnessing what has unfolded on campuses across our nation. I have been encouraged. I was so touched by what our students at GW were able to produce in terms of a peaceful and incredibly disciplined and well-organized protest on our campus. I've seen it myself. I've been there myself. I am humbled by the dedication of these students and their selflessness, standing in the face of the oppression of Palestinians, but also in the oppression of their own institutions. They have put everything on the line, from their careers to their very livelihoods, their safety, and they have done so with a selflessness that we all should be inspired by, and yet we see the response has been lies. They have been smeared, they have been maligned, and that's at best. What we've seen at worst is that they've been attacked by by protesters, counter protesters. They have been attacked by police, called by their own administrators. And as someone who has seen the importance of, or who has of course experienced, like who have gone through the higher education system in this country, like we are all encouraged to be critical thinkers, to use the opportunities that we have in our higher education to expand horizons, to develop ways of demonstrating our compassion, demonstrating our compassion for those who are oppressed. And yet, when our students are doing so, what they're met with is tyranny. There, no attempts to negotiate, no attempts to hear their demands, and lies that come out about the nature of this protest and the nature of the encampment that they were able to put together. And it was, and I would encourage anyone who was able to look back on like what was posted and made public online, because they were dedicated to teaching one another about this conflict. They were dedicated to supporting one another, and to not let their own interests take any precedent before those of the Palestinians in Gaza and Palestinians in all the occupied territories. And so I come here with a broken heart. I'm devastated that our administration chose this route, bringing in the police in the middle of the night and tear gassing students and arresting students, when they had examples in other campuses across the country, and how they could have had that conversation. They could have sat down and listened to demands and had the conversation with these beautiful students. And I feel for the parents who had to hear or witness like this event overnight, and my heart goes out to them. I hope that we can all find a way to support them, support the students, and I thank you all for your time and for being here.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much. Speaking next, we have Dr. Barbara Wien, who is a GW parent and also a professor at American University.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Students are the conscience of our nation. They are the moral compass of this society, and they're holding up a mirror to our policies, beseeching us to stop the bloodshed. I am both a GW parent and I teach at American University, and I stayed in the encampment with the students. They were democratic, they were peaceful, they shared everything, books, food. As I listened to their conversations in my tent at night, they were so consequential. They cared deeply about the well-being of others. In my courses, I teach peacemaking, peacekeeping, peace building, nonviolent struggle, and they are reflecting back to us the lessons that their parents and professors have taught them, that there is right and wrong, ethical compasses, moral compasses. They're asking us to live up to the values of this society and this nation and our founding principles. I am so impressed, so inspired by their tenacity, their ethics, their courage, their compassion. They're tireless. They're absolutely tireless on behalf of the people of Gaza. I am Jewish. I was raised in a Zionist family, and I say never again for any people, not the people of Yemen, Sudan, Armenia, Gaza, anywhere. We have to stop this madness in the Middle East. And as my beautiful colleague said, the children are the adults now. They are our teachers. the children, and the students are the teachers now. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, speaking is visiting Associate Professor Peter Colloway, who's a GW with the GW Law Criminal Defense Clinic.
I'm going to speak on something rather narrow because these were really beautiful testaments by the other faculty and staff in solidarity with the students who are standing up for the people of Gaza. We've heard already the numbers, the absolutely horrifying numbers. My colleague spoke about the number of children killed in Gaza, equivalent to the number of children in the entirety of Northwest DC. That's just shocking, something I hadn't heard before. It's indisputable that what's happening now is a genocide. It meets the criteria under international law. It couldn't be more clear. No serious scholar or lawyer disagrees with that. What I want to focus on briefly is the deployment of law enforcement to protect power. That's something that we see routinely. That's what law enforcement is for. In my career as a public defender, I had clients who were unhoused, suffered from mental health issues, who were routinely oppressed, arrested, cycled in and out, while we have wealthy drug users in high-rise apartments, people committing wage theft, suffering no consequence at all. Here we have what by all accounts was a peaceful and, in my opinion, beautiful action by the students of GW and other universities in the encampment, and we have the violent use of law enforcement agents with guns and handcuffs and batons and tear gas to destroy that because it represented a challenge to power. That's something that they can't tolerate. These people, the people who would accuse these students of doing this for clout, of enduring and risking police and counter-protester violence, school discipline, professional consequences. People who would make that claim are cowards, and I bet that to a T, they are people who have never meaningfully risked anything for anyone. We don't need to look beyond George Washington's campus to see the way that law enforcement is used to protect the powerful. I've seen the video, as many of you have, of Chris Bracey committing what looks quite clearly like an assault against a Jewish student who was part of the encampment. Has there been any talk about him facing consequences? Not that I've heard. But they'll deploy dozens of cops to break up a peaceful protest against a genocide. This shows you where their priorities lie. It's where they've lied since the inception of law enforcement in this country, bred in part from the slave patrols. It's where they will continue to lie unless we, faculty, staff, citizens, journalists, and the rest of us stand and act in solidarity with these students. There's more we can do. I'm heartwarmed to see everyone here now. I'm new to this faculty community and new to the faculty who are supporting these students, but I couldn't be prouder to be a part of it. And I hope that the school will do the right thing. I hope the cops will do the right thing. I hope they will let this peaceful protest blossom so that we can put an end to this genocide once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, we're going to hear from Professor Bassam Haddad, who is the founder of the Middle East and Islamic Studies program at George Mason University.
Thank you all for being here. I just want to ask people who are here and who are watching, what are we doing here? It's inconceivable that we're standing here trying to defend students for standing up for everything we have taught them in the classroom. Not just people on quote-unquote one side. All of you, all of us, all teachers, all faculty have been teaching students to stand up for social justice, to stand up against racism, to stand up against any sort of infringement on anybody's rights, against sexism, against Islamophobia, against anti-Semitism. And yet, we are here sanctioning, supporting the brutalization of these students when they are overwhelmingly peacefully protesting on our own campuses. Shameful presidents, administrators, and faculty are supporting this brutalization of students who are standing up for exactly what we taught them to stand up for. They are aware of what they are standing up for. It's cynical for anybody online, on television, in social media, to question whether they know what they are doing just because they got 2 or 3 people who did not want to talk to them or who did not articulate things perfectly at that moment in front of a camera. They know they are protesting an ongoing genocide by the state of Israel against Palestinians that has led to the killing of more than 35,000 people and the maiming and killing together of more than 120,000 Palestinians in Gaza. They're protesting 75 years of dispossession, ethnic cleansing, apartheid rule, and military occupation. They know why they are protesting. They're paying for it by their bodies. They're paying for it by their careers. They're paying for it by their character against the defamation they are facing every single day by people who are doxing them and shaming them for standing up for what we all believe in. You, all of you who do not support what's going on, are gonna pay for this simply by protesting in the future for some other cause. And these students are paving the way for you just like the way has been paved for them with the civil rights movements, with the feminist movements in the past. They are paving the way for you to protest in the future for your own causes that we probably all support. And now you are repressing them because you do not support their political cause. You should rethink, you should reread, and you should look at the footage without any mediation. It's shameful that we are repressing these students. It's shameful that we are not upholding the right we all believe in, and that the right that we repress at our own future peril. These students, we used to say, are our future. They are not. This is the last generation or the one before of students that we spoke like this about. These students are not our future. These students are our present. They are leading us in the present, not in the future. And you are crushing them instead of upholding their spirit. This is inconceivable that we are all doing this. And history will not forget, we will not forget where every single one of you has stood. Last night, at dawn, people at the GW Encampment that included DC, Maryland, and Virginia University students were violently and brutally dispersed. The encampment was swept violently. At the same time that for many, many days, they were protesting peacefully. It was a Zen moment every single moment you visited the encampment, and yet they were treated like criminals by the police, by our president, by our administrators, and supported by many of our faculty. This is shameful, and it will come back to haunt all of you who did not stand up for the rights that we all taught our students to stand up for. And time will tell where everyone stood today. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the speakers that came here today. We're going to take several questions from the media. We can start over here if there are any. Yes, state your name.
Eric Filter, the GW Hatchet. Roughly how many signers have you gotten onto the letter that was submitted this morning?
So what I've heard, they're about up to 80, but the letter's rolling and growing. So they expect to surpass 100 within an hour.
Yeah, I haven't signed it yet as a GW parent.
Sorry, please take the podium.
I haven't signed it yet, and I'm a GW parent, so more signatures are coming in.
Can I add that 80 parents represents over $6 million of tuition money, and the GW administration should think long and hard about who they're financially beholden to. These donors who are donating several million, or the $6+ million a year coming from parents. Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you.
To
Yes.
the professors who are here today, are you worried about any reprisals from your own university about your involvement? If you can talk about that.
Anyone can speak to that question? Worried about reprisals?
Yes, courses have been cut. Some of us have been called in. Some of us have been monitored, surveilled, our emails read. Yes, there are reprisals, but we're going to stand up to it. We have to stand up to it. And the students are our role models on this. We're not backing down.
Can you introduce, can she spell her?
Oh, could you?
Sorry, you can say and spell your name for us.
Barbara Wien, W-I-E-N. It means the city of Vienna.
B-A-R.
B-A-R-A.
Any professors want to add to that?
Does anyone else want to talk about retaliation, reprisals, the fear of that?
I am not worried because I'm not doing anything wrong, neither are the students. I would be honored, actually, to be reprimanded for standing up for our students who are being beaten by police for sitting down and chanting remarkable, beautiful, anti-war hymns. Nothing to be worried about. Nobody should worry about anything. Those whom I have spoken with in our activism and podcasts that have been fired are already now proud of what they have done because they've been fired for speaking truth to power. There's nothing to be worried about. The people and the groups and the individuals who need to be worried are those that you're addressing might actually reprimand us.
Professor, can you also introduce and spell your name? Or if you have a press release, that's me.
My name?
Yes, please. And can you spell it for us?
Bassam Haddad, B-A-S-S-A-M-H-A-D-D-A-D.
Professor, thank you very much.
All right, next question right there. We'll work our way over here.
Okay.
A question for the first woman who just spoke. You said that parents are demanding these administrative resignations. What will happen if said resignations don't happen?
We will see. We are following the right path of escalation. We're still respecting the board, and we are hoping of a positive response. So we are waiting on that, and if it doesn't happen, we'll see what we will do. But as I said, we are not sitting on the sidelines seeing this happening to our children anymore. Thank you.
When you say that you're no longer sitting on the sidelines, what are you guys going to do?
Well, we did already. We did already. We signed a letter for more than 79 parents, and more are coming, and we send it to the chair of the board, and we are waiting on the response, and also we organized this. So that's how we are not standing on the sidelines anymore.
Is your child one of the protesters?
My child is one of the protesters, and I am a parent of everybody who was in the camp. Just being a mother, I can feel every mother whose child is in the camp and who was subjected to the brutality early in the morning. So you can consider all my children are in the camp.
And was your child charged this morning? Was your child there this morning when
No.
police came?
How is your child doing? I mean, obviously this is a lot.
He is very stressed. This administration is putting stress on young people that is beyond, really far and beyond any ration. And they are just getting them furious, more furious, more furious. My son has the end year exams. He can study, he can focus. He's really angry. It's just against all the principles of this nation. And all what we taught them, as the professor said, just like, in the dustbin, right? So no one can focus. Even those who are not in the camp, they are badly affected, their well-being, they are worried, they are disgusted.
Okay, and I know there is a question there, and then we'll get here.
What would be the response to the police chief this morning had mentioned that they noticed the situation was getting more volatile as of Monday, and that they recently have at least 2 cases of protesters camping or probing the university, I should say. So what would be the response to that?
As a former student at a very active university, I can say as administration increases police involvement, it always ends up more volatile. So you have to ask, why is the administration using the police as a tool of oppression and suppression of these students and their views? And how are they contributing to this? But I'll leave it up to the parents and faculty.
May I just say the message for Mayor Bowser and for the police chief is shame on you for being cowed into this cowardly action by the House Oversight Committee, bowing to these political hacks, right, who are not from our city, to repress our students, right? Shame on you.
So are you saying their claims that it was a safety concern at that point
Are
invalid?
absolutely invalid. Absolutely invalid. Look at actual footage, reports, testimonies from inside these encampments across the United States. Okay, last Friday there was a Shabbat service held at the encampment at GW. There have been Cedars, liberation Cedars, led by the Jewish community across these encampments. The notion that these are anti-Semitic or somehow danger to Jewish students, for one, but danger to the community, is completely and totally unfounded. It's slanderous. It's a dereliction of basic academic integrity and duty by the administrations who are claiming this and by the politicians who are disingenuously claiming these things.
And if I could just add, I was in the encampment as a nonviolent peacekeeper, serving as a violence interrupter, when a gang of drunk teenagers came through, were spitting on people, ripping up signs, and I effectively was able to walk them out of the encampment with the help of the student peace marshals from GW, only to have the GW police bring them back into the encampment. And I said, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And the students looked at me, the GW students said, they're looking for any excuse to shut down the encampment, Barbara. They want to find a provocation to shut down the encampment. And I can bear witness and testify, eyewitness testimony directly, that there were multiple times when agent provocateurs and outside agitators and far-right people, some of whom had been IDF snipers in the West Bank, who had killed the loved ones of the GW students in the encampment, were walking through, waltzing through with impunity, arrogant, so full of hubris. And the students surrounded them and said, shame, shame, you killed our loved ones in West Bank. What were IDF soldiers doing in the encampment? So we surrounded them, we were peaceful, we never laid hands on them. We escorted them out only for the GW police and one of the captain of the Metropolitan Police Departments to bring them back through. So I confronted the police. I said, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? We're trying to maintain nonviolent discipline in this camp. So I have to throw the question back on you. Why does the administration and the authorities and armed thugs and police act in this manner? They were deliberately trying to discredit, destroy, and disrupt a peaceful encampment. And let me tell you, there were no drugs in the encampment, no alcohol, no sexual relations allowed. And when my husband and I saw them all on their laptops, we were like, oh, they're probably on social media. No, they were studying. They were all studying for their exams. That's what we saw as we walked through the encampment last Friday and Thursday night as we slept there. Yes.
What about the police claims that they said they found weapons?
There were no weapons in the... Okay, you have to put on your critical thinking hat and realize there are disinformation campaigns in this country. And MAGA Republicans in particular would love to spread that kind of thing. I don't know why the police are saying that. I don't know why GW was saying that. I was in the student tents. I was all over the encampment since the 26th of April. I never saw one weapon. Don't repeat that lie. I'm sorry to get so upset with you, but they were sharing food, they were sharing books, they were studying. They were praying together. We were called to prayers every morning, every evening, beautiful Islamic prayers. There were interfaith prayer vigils. A delegation of black ministers came from Maryland, Virginia, and the district and prayed with the students. A large delegation of black ministers from AME churches. Please don't buy the misinformation, disinformation campaigns that are deliberately targeting our students.
To address that claim, we're going to have
I just
two more
have a
speakers.
quick comment on that. Who started that is the president. So as a parent, I receive semi-daily statements from the university called GW Family Connections. On Sunday, I received a terrible message that there's violence, those protests are outlaws, and they do illegal activities. I can send you a copy of this shameful, and she's also giving false information to the parents who are not involved or indulged in this, telling them that all trials from the organizations to talk to the students have failed. This is a big, shameful lie, because she declined every time to speak with the students. And that's why we are asking for her resignation, because we don't want such a personality, such a character, such a demeanor to be the president of the educational system of our children.
All right, we're gonna have one more response to that question, and then we can break for one-on-one
it's actually
interviews.
not.
Very quick question for her before she carries on. Ma'am, are you guys planning to pull your kids out of GW?
Of course, that's something on the table. Why we send our students to GW? Because it's one of the most esteemed educational institutions in the nation. Just few, very close to the nation, to the capital, and we were assuming that they will find the highest educators, the highest education, and the best treatment, and they will not have hypocrite administrations that endangers them. Do you think we'd ever send our children to a place where we have even a single doubt that they will be endangered? Of course not. When my son was hesitant about the high tuition and the loans he will incur, I encouraged him, and I personally regret that.
Okay.
I told him, go ahead, you get what you pay for, I will fill in for the financial gaps. And I encouraged him. Now he said, see, I would go to George Mason. They have the best engineering class curriculum there, one of the top of the nation, less expensive, and they talk to their students.
Okay, we're going to have one more response to that last question over there that we had, and then we're going to break off for one-on-one interviews.
Sorry, it's not a response to the question on weapons. I don't need to credit that with any response. I just want to say to the people who are actually our heroes in the encampments, although I understand, and we all understand the impetus, the justification to keep saying what you're saying because of the racism out there, but what I would like to share is that we don't need to constantly say that we are joined by Jewish groups and Jewish students in the encampments in order to humanize ourselves. We don't need to humanize ourselves. We know who we are. Many people do this because you are dehumanizing them. Yes. We know who we are. Our statements, our positions, our articles, our books speak for themselves. Right. We don't need to humanize ourselves. You need to humanize yourself.
Right. Bravo.
So with that, we're going to conclude this portion of today's press conference. We can break off into one-on-one interviews. I want to thank the parents, the professors, the faculty that joined today in front of CARE to speak. And with that, thank you.
And if we can get your name
and
spelling.
And again, my name is Robert McCaw, MCCAW, and I'm the National Government Affairs Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations.
And is that lowercase c then capital C?
Very Irish, yes.
I'll just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to actually give you, though, our communication manager's direct contact information, just because he's coordinating this. I was just asked last minute to join as an MC. So what we're going to do is, can you punch in your email right there, and I'm just going to copy you and I email it. It's just the easiest way to do things. And which outlet are you in?
7 years. And I should be, I think most of my questions were answered, but I had to step out at one point, so just in case I didn't.
Making a connection with 7 News.
Oh, perfect. And my, it's
can
reply.
I can't wait. The people who live there aren't excited.